the sidelines. Has a man wide open. It's tipped. It's picked off. MJ Devonshire. Got face. He's going to take it to the end zone. Pittsburgh takes the lead.
He loves those moments. It reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John's. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell 3. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin.
Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Semple Fi podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my two wonderful co-hosts, both in their finest attire, the Pitt Vipers, spelled with 2 T's, Mason Kling, Kent Vanderwood. Mason, how are we doing tonight?
Pretty good, Zach. It feels like football is right around the corner, and I'm honestly surprised that we haven't had the PITT Vipers on the pod yet. We need to get some more of that content going.
I think that we need to open up a podcast credit card somehow, do a little financial crime, and then and only then will I own a pair of Pitt Vipers. I don't think I could buy them for myself. I think someone will give me some funny looks. Kent, how are we doing tonight?
We're good. Yeah, coming up. It's getting close. So excited for the season to get started.
So, yeah, we're recording this on Monday, the 21st. That means we're 12 days away from Pitt football. Holy shit. We're back.
Off-season went quick. Off-season went really quick.
It's almost like it did go quick, but there was the middle – when it got to late off-season, when it was all realignment shit, it felt like it was going so slow. So it was all news about realignment and not football. Once training camp started, it's gone by.
Yeah, already a couple weeks into Hard Knocks, which is kind of like the catalyst to the fire of football in the fall, and like everything else kind of coming after that preseason football. So we got the itch.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched Hard Knocks yet. I'm planning on binging it before the season starts.
It's a good one.
It's a good one? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I would be biased anyway.
I know.
I was going to say, if there's anybody that should be watching this season of Hard Knocks, it's you, Zach.
Yeah, I know. I want to see Izzy on Hard Knocks, but I don't know. I'm bad at watching TV shows.
That's a great call, actually. There's been a surprise, not a lot of Izzy on Hard Knocks. They're kind of focusing on a lot of the other young guys that kind of made a name for themselves last year, which is disappointing.
Very little Izzy so far.
Yeah, we need a bug in one of the producers' ears on Hard Knocks for sure.
All right,
I'm hoping he's featured. I feel like one episode, like maybe this week, maybe next week, he's going to be a feature guy. I can just feel it.
Well, I think he got hurt in the last game. I don't think it's like a serious injury, but he did get hurt. So I don't know if they're going to be able to feature him at all.
That's tough. His one sick run where he like made the spin move and then he got tackled at the one like they initially called it a touchdown. That was kind of featured, but
the play, yeah, they showed the play like the highlight reel. But
yeah, we getting any Jordan Whitehead? I think that's the only pick guy on the team.
Not a whole lot of him either.
All right, we got to get in there here. You're right. We got to get a bug. We got to get a mole. We got to get this sorted out.
All-time coach speech though from Salah when he was just talking about like the only bird that will attack an eagle is a crow, and then if that happens, the eagles fly so high that the crows suffocate and die, and the media is the crows, and the other teams are the crows this year, and they got to be the Eagles. It was just, I'm not even doing it justice. It got me fired up.
Also, did you just call him Salah? Is it
yeah,
Salah?
Salah. That was a Billy football.
Yeah, you got incepted into saying that.
The bright lights came on and I botched it. I knew I said it wrong right when I said it.
I mean, you're like any NFL announcer trying to pronounce Abanikanda.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
really
yeah.
do a bad job with that. All right. So no Pitt football talk today. Next episode will be because Pitt is actually playing next week. But we are following up on our promise. We are making our conference picks for the other 9 conferences that play FBS football. Recapping real quick, last week for the ACC, I had Florida State beating Clemson. Mason had Clemson beating Florida State, and Kent had Pitt beating Clemson. Any changes to the picks? Are you sticking with them?
I'm doubling down.
Doubling down? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not making any changes. The fact that this is a Pitt podcast and I'm the only person who picked Pitt, a little disappointing.
Well,
You know what? You got me there.
yeah, I'm staying until I'm proven otherwise. Until you can provide me documentation and statistics that prove me wrong, Kent. We're rocking with the same picks. Maybe,
Okay, well,
a couple weeks in, maybe I change it.
to our listeners, I'm riding with you, and I can't wait to prove the other 2 hosts of this show wrong, along
Ken,
with all of you.
I would love nothing more than be proven wrong.
Yes, and remember how our conference picks went last year. Horribly, horribly wrong. So I'm doing the reverse jinx.
I mean, yeah, think about it. We're using our powers for good. Ken, you should actually change your pick right now.
Nah, I got at least 1 pick right last year, so that if one of them is going to be right, it's going to be the ACC. So,
All right, fair. I don't know if I got any right last year. So this is going to be the year.
I got USC. USC in Pac-12 was for sure a win for me. I don't remember the others, to be honest, but we'll keep closer tabs on that this year. And I assume the graphic will be coming out this week once we announce these picks tonight. But
yeah, for sure. I will say though, Ken, USC didn't win the Pac-12 last year. That was not a correct pick.
Utah.
It was Utah.
Okay.
You said USC. Wait, am I the only one that had any? I had Michigan and Utah. I think that's it.
I think we both picked USC, Kent.
All right, guys. I'm really flubbing this, but it is what it is. I'm pretty sure I got one right, and that's all that matters.
It's our preseason 2.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on. All right. Big Ten. I'll start. I've got Michigan beating Iowa. We're going to okay, so back up. We'll give everyone our picks, and then we'll explain them, talk through them. I've got Michigan over Iowa. Who's next?
I am rocking with the Buckeyes over PJ Flex, Minnesota. Golden Gophers, baby.
That's a spicy pick for the West.
I am going also with the Wolverines over Wisconsin.
Okay. All right. Mason, let's start with you. Do you think Ohio State is going to go into Ann Arbor and beat Michigan this year?
Yes. That is what this entire conference hinges on. I think it's going to be a little bit of a revenge year for them. I feel like anytime those teams just go back and forth so much, they're going to start playing each other 2 times a year probably once they go to the full. Well, USC might throw something into that, but I don't know. It just comes down to those teams every year. I just think that Ohio State gets the best of them. Going into Ann Arbor is tough. They've done it plenty of times before, and I think they're a better team.
So I'll say that I think if CJ Stroud was still the quarterback, I would have a lot easier of a time picking Ohio State to win the East. But he's not. They're starting at either I think it's Devin Brown or I forget the other guy's name. I don't know. But I think that having a quarterback with very little starting experience and, obviously their schedule isn't very hard. They're not going to be tested any time before Michigan. And more so than the offensive talent, because even though they've had a boatload of offensive talent the last 2 years, it's been their defense the last 2 years that's lost them that Michigan game. And I don't think that I believe that the defense has taken that step forward. Like, they can talk all they want about how it has changed, but I'm not seeing it. I don't know.
They were the less physical team last year, and that's 100% why they did end up losing to Michigan. I think Ryan Day will get him right, but it's a very fair concern. You point out good points against.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with you. Like, I don't think J.J. McCarthy is even like a top 10 quarterback. I think he's very okay, but once again, the team isn't about J.J. as the same level as like Ohio State's team is about the quarterback. So
I definitely have like skill position bias too. You just look at like the receiver room and some of those players in Ohio State, and you're like, wow,
huge name room.
Yeah, so that it might just be a name bias thing, and like you said, I'm definitely not bought in on J.J. McCarthy either. We'll have some inconsistency there from the Ohio State side of the ball too, but I don't know. Those wide receivers just unreal.
Yeah, Mason, like you said, obviously this comes down to probably that game. Obviously, I think whoever's winning the East is beating whoever comes out of the West. So I was teetering between Ohio State and Michigan here. I mean, Penn State, a little bit of a chance as well, but I mean, I just like the Wolverines this year again, and a little bit biased there. I just have, I have family that are Michigan alumni, so I, always kind of root for them every year in this game, but plays a factor a little bit. But yeah, definitely a toss up. I could very easily see Ohio State winning this conference this year as well.
So, Ken, you mentioned Penn State. Are either of you buying like Penn State being the outside horse to win the East? I know they go to Ohio State this year, and then they get Michigan at home late in the season. Are you guys buying it? Are you guys buying Drew Allar and everything else they have?
No.
Fair enough.
I'll put it just as simply as Kent did. No.
I'm not even going to elaborate. I'm just saying I think this is a race between Michigan and Ohio State, and Penn State's still the little brother in this division, and they're not going to pull it out.
I had a whole thing prepared like, yeah, I mean, they got some really good running backs and they got good receivers, but their O-line, you guys put it better than I could have ever said. No, they're not going to win the East.
Same old Nittany Lions, hopefully.
Same old Nittany Lions. As far as the West goes, you guys just picked that on vibes because that's kind of what I did.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't like any team coming from over there. I guess you kind of like look at I like PJ Fleck. I think he does a really good job with what that Minnesota team is in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of kind of volatility with pretty much every other program except for Iowa. So just from like a consistency standpoint is kind of why I went with the Gophers.
Yeah, I mean, I like Luke Fickell at Wisconsin this year. I was looking at Wisconsin's schedule. I think it's favorable. We might get into that a little bit later as well. But overall, looking at Wisconsin versus the rest of the field this year, a little bit of a gut feeling, but going with the Badgers.
I mean, looking at what he did with Cincy, he could bring Wisconsin back to that. I feel like him, Matt Rule at Nebraska, like both of them there a lot. I could just see a little bit of like first year head coach kind of struggles there. But Luke Fickell at Wisconsin will honestly probably be somebody that I'm rooting for.
Mm-hmm.
But also now that I see Iowa's schedule in front of me too, it's kind of hard to not pick them also because they're just going to their schedule's pretty ridiculously easy, and they're just going to play Iowa football and win shitty games.
I'm going to get to Iowa in a second. Ken, I don't hate the Wisconsin pick. Mason, can you tell me who Minnesota's quarterback is this year?
No.
Well, surprisingly enough, it's not Tanner Morgan still. It is
I knew that he left. And every him and PJ Fleck look exactly the same.
Yeah.
But right. I knew that he finally left after what felt like 12 years at Minnesota. That'll be interesting to see somebody else there.
All right, I want you to try and pronounce this name I'm going to throw in the chat right now. That's their starting quarterback this year.
Ethan Kaliakmanis?
Kaliakmanis? I feel like Ethan, by the way, bad quarterback name. Bust. Cannot be a quarterback named Ethan.
Yeah.
But that
sounds more like a Champions League soccer player than a Big Ten quarterback.
Yep. Completely agree.
Okay. Nathan, hold the end.
All right. Well, that's Nathan for you, University of Minnesota.
That's a good one.
All right. Big 12. Move on to Big 12.
Sure.
Yep.
All right. I've got K-State over Texas. Mason, what do you got?
Give me Texas over. I really kind of balked on this one. I'm going to go Oklahoma. Red River in the Big 12 championship, as things should be. Texas is back. Horns are back up.
I also went with Texas, and I also picked them to win over Oklahoma.
Okay, so real quick, can you tell me how many times Red River has been played as the Big 12 championship game? Just give me a guess.
I feel like it would be lower than we probably expected. Like 5.
Okay, your guess is 5. Kent, what about you?
I'll say we're talking all time.
So the Big 12 championship has been played from 96 to the present with a 6-year gap.
Okay. 5's a pretty good guess, I think. I guess I'll say.
Price is Right. You can do Price is Right and get 6.
I was gonna say I don't want to go 6. I'll say 7. I don't want to go 1.
All right. The correct answer is 0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Red River has never been a Big 12 championship game. I don't know. I
guess when I say as things should be, it just feels
never happened.
Every year those teams have so much hype around them. It feels like it should be a very like Michigan and Ohio State, but it turns out it's really, I guess it's not.
Actually, looking back at that, because that 96, how many times can you even remember Texas being in the Big 12 championship? So, yeah, that was stupid guesses on our part, Mason. I'll put us up there on that.
I'm also going to give you guys an out here. In the first iteration of the championship game, those two teams were in the same division. So, but in the divisionless format, they've played 0 times. Texas is actually. Oh wait, no, I lied. They played in 2018. How did I miss that?
There had to be at least. I feel like there was at least one.
One time, 2018. I'm sorry. I just keep lying on this podcast. I love spreading fake news.
All of us keep lying. I think each of us has lied at least one time since we recorded. So
we just love lying. I don't know. So I don't buy Oklahoma at all. I don't think they're going to be very good. Just I don't know. I just don't buy it. As far as Texas goes, I get it. They probably have the most talented team in the whole conference, and that's why I have them as my runner-up. But it's also Texas. They always seem to choke something. And then I don't believe that Steve Sarkisian has ever went better than 8-4 in a single year. I'm gonna go double.
That's my case race guy.
Blast from the past. Well, Zach, what if I told you that didn't the Big 12 change the rule that you're now allowed to do horns down again? And maybe that is all the motivation that Texas needed to play well enough that teams can't do horns down on them because it's won't be penalized.
I'm gonna reverse that and say I think teams have much more of like they're so much more motivated this year to basically bite at the ankles of these two teams because they're leaving the conference. Like I think without a doubt that both Texas and Oklahoma are gonna drop a game to like a worse team because they're like, fuck these guys. We're gonna show them, who's the fucking boss, and they're not gonna beat us on the way out. So
Yeah, they're going to get everybody's best shot for sure. Sell me on K-State then. They're going to reload enough to get back.
yeah, so I really like their quarterback. He was the one who played towards the end of last year. He was really good. They did lose Deuce Vaughn, but they brought in I think it's Trayshawn Ward. They brought in one of the Florida State backups, who I really like as a running back. And with their like O line, they can rebuild that. Their coach has been really good at developing the O line and run game. I think the issue with them is the defense, but I think their offense is good enough to play with like Texas or Kansas. So I think maybe like the two best offenses in the league. I just buy them as repeats because I like how Kleiman has built the program. I think they're ready to, turn it over.
Thought for sure one of us is going to have TCU in there too.
No. I'm selling hard on TCU. I don't know about you guys, but they lost everybody.
Yeah, they did. I mean, when you look at their QB luck, I know we talked about that last year too, and how that kind of like got them to where they were at the end of the year. You're definitely not going to get that again.
Yeah.
So it'll anytime you lose as much as they did, and then probably won't have the same amount of luck. It'll be an interesting year for good old Sonny Dykes.
I mean, you got to think about. Remember the Baylor game? They won on a last-second fire drill field goal. Like the luck for them was insane. Obviously, it ran out once the year turned to 2023. Yeah, I'm not buying TCU again this year.
Magic's run out on the Horned Frogs.
I completely agree. Okay. Pac-12. I've got no divisions in the Pac-12 this year, just like last year. I've got Utah winning over Oregon State.
Give me USC over the Huskies.
Okay.
Mason and I are making the same picks. 2 conferences in a row. I'm also taking USC over the Huskies.
Certainly won't backfire on us, Kent.
No. It'll look really clean on the graphic, though.
It will.
And maybe it'll be perfect, and then Zach will look stupid.
Yeah. If only. So explanation for mine is kind of Utah had an unreal year last year. Cam Rising beating USC in the regular season, then in the Pac-12 championship as well. It's revenge year for Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, and USC. They're gonna. I think they make the playoff this year, and because they beat Utah, I think that's what is kind of opened the door for somebody else to come in and go to that Pac-12 championship game. And I like Washington's schedule a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Caleb Williams coming back. Big reason. Yeah, and like Mason said, I think USC has some bad blood about what happened at the end of last year. Even I thought they won the Pac-12 championship. That's how bad that was at the end.
Their regular season game was unreal. The Pac-12 championship game was like not even. It was closer than the score said, I think, but it wasn't that great of a game. But their regular season game was
Oh, it was
incredible to
unreal.
watch. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just back and forth.
Yeah, so USC not even making it to the Pac-12 championship last year to winning it this year. I think they're just on a mission. Caleb Williams on a mission too. Maybe
Heisman hopeful.
yeah, Heisman back to back for first time in I don't know what the stats are on that.
The 80s, I think.
Could be the first guy to do it in a while.
Manziel was close, but
Archie Griffin, Ohio State running back's the only player to win the award twice, even. So
I was gonna say I'm not sure that's even ever happened. Did he win it back to back?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so
what was the year?
1975, I think.
Yeah, he's gonna really have to put up big numbers and really separate himself from the pack if he wants to win it back to back. Because I know, if there's anybody close, they'll probably
voter fatigue will definitely
yeah, exactly. They'll try and give it to somebody to give it to him for the first time as opposed to give it to him back to back years. But if he really wants it, he's gonna have to show out and maybe win a Pac-12 championship. So I'll go with USC year 2 of Lincoln Riley, and same. I think the Huskies are set up for a good year as well.
Who's line time? Who would you guys say has the next best odds to win the Heisman other than Caleb Williams currently?
Is it not Drake May?
No, it is Jaden Daniels at LSU.
What the fuck?
Then you got Quinn Ewers at Texas and Michael Penix at Washington.
I don't hate the Michael Penix pick because he's going to be throwing an offense that he puts up numbers in. But the other three, it's like, what? Really?
Where's Drake May at in that list?
Drake May is surprisingly far down. He's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's 10th on the list at plus 1,800.
I don't hate that.
JJ McCarthy is higher than Drake May.
Oh, that's stealing money from people. That's never going to happen.
Bo Nix is higher than Drake May.
That's wild.
Sam Hartman.
I could talk myself into Bo Nix. He had a really good year last year.
He did. Yeah. I don't hate that Oregon team.
Yeah, I think the Pac-12, I don't hate the Washington pick. I kind of agree that, realistically, the Oregon State pick for me is realistically me wish casting that they will make the championship in their final year in the conference. That's just sort of me wanting something nice to happen. I do like the Washington pick. I really like Michael Penix. I think they have probably the best wide receiver group outside of Ohio State in the nation. I think they didn't do a good job replacing their line, and I think that's a really bad thing to have when you have Michael Penix as your quarterback with an injury-prone quarterback. I'm going to take Utah for the three-peat, though, with me thinking that Cam Rising will be back and 100% in time for Pac-12 play. I just think that their defense is different and that they're just the meaner team. There's not a lot of teams in the Pac-12 that are going to be as mean as Utah, and that can.
They're the outlier of physicality, probably.
Right. They pretty much have zigged, or they've zagged when everyone has zigged. I think Oregon State's trying to do the same thing running the ball, which I actually think they're plus 1,800 to win the Pac-12, which I don't hate a lot. But I just think that the fact that they run the ball and they use these big tight end sets, especially against a team like USC, I get it. The offense is really good. They have probably the worst defensive coordinator at a blue blood school of the entire nation. and there's no doubt in my mind that that's going to cost them multiple games this year.
Yeah. Part of my pick is also like I don't know, how fun would a Washington USC Pac-12 be? Just points.
Do
That
they play
game
in the
is
regular season?
I don't think so. When I was looking through a million schedules right before we did this preview, I don't think they do.
No, they do. Washington goes to USC November 4th. USC actually has a pretty tough schedule on the back end. I think they'll beat Notre Dame because they can outspeed them, but 5 of the last 6 are Utah, Washington, Oregon, and UCLA.
Hey, the playoff committee will like that.
So it's good if they win them all, but if they
Yeah.
that's a tough stretch to get through. And then they did the super cocky thing of playing a week 0 game. So they are home Thanksgiving weekend, rivalry weekend. So if they lose 2 games in that stretch, they're fucked. They don't have anything to make it up for on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, I will say on the flip side, like the thing that scares me about my pick is that if Caleb Williams isn't motivated to try and win a second Heisman and is really just looking forward to the NFL and is just kind of like, whatever. I just want to stay healthy and just kind of like get through this so that I can go make millions, and I don't really care what the result of this year is.
I think he's doing all right still from a money perspective.
Yeah.
I agree with Kent because I think that USC's O-line is also going to be pretty bad, and I think there's a non-zero chance that he makes like a business decision if he gets dinged up and he's like, my O-line sucks. It's like, oh, I'm just going to sit out the rest of the year. I think that could legitimately happen.
Yeah. So a bit of a concern there. Yeah, I mean, you've seen guys kind of do that before. Manziel is one that comes to mind. I'm not sure if he's the best example, but that Texas A&M team had really high expectations going into year 2, and they won 8 games. So,
Ken, you picked USC? What are you doing right now?
I know. I'm just saying that was the gut pick, and that just feels like the smart pick. But I'm saying on the record, I'm just laying it all out there, man.
Okay.
This is a safe space, Ken. It's okay.
To know your greatest strengths, you must know your greatest weaknesses. I got you.
I'm saying, concern I have about my pick. I'll be honest.
Okay. Fair.
All right.
Awesome Johnny Manziel documentary. I feel like we've been talking about him a lot. I don't know if you guys watch that on Netflix.
Oh yeah, no, that documentary is very good.
Yeah, very, very cool.
You know what? Speaking of Johnny Manziel, let's move to the SEC.
Oh, wait. One quick last Pac-12 related thing.
Okay.
Went to an Eagles preseason game last Thursday. Little impromptu game. Did some film study on our good friend DTR, who was a backup for the Browns. Really was just fun to be able to flex when people were like, who is that? And I was like, he played at UCLA. Remember the Sun Bowl when Pitt beat them? So yeah, it was nice to get a little extra dig at Browns fans last week.
It's so easy.
Yeah. I will say DTR has looked pretty good in the preseason, but we still root against him. So we hate all those Browns quarterbacks.
I'm rooting for him over Deshaun Watson. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah.
All right, SEC. I've got LSU over Georgia.
I've got the flip of that. I've got Georgia over the Tigers.
Yeah, I'm also. Oh, I can't pick the same as Mason again, but I want to put the Tigers in there too. All right, Mason, we're going 3 for 3.
Let's ride, Kev.
Georgia over LSU. I'm making a last-minute switch. I agree.
Kent just crumpled up a paper and chucked it out of the press box.
Yeah.
Last minute decision.
Ken has no conviction on this podcast. You're swaying him so easily. I don't even know if I have that much to say about the SEC. I think that it's really hard to pick against Georgia. I kind of just did it because I don't want them to win again.
Yeah, let the record show here that even though I picked Georgia to beat LSU, I am going to be the biggest LSU fan in the country, possibly.
Yeah.
I just think they're super fun to root for. I don't even like somebody other than Alabama who, I don't know. It feels like every year when people are like down on Alabama, that's when they seem to do really well. And I could see them also, like, it's not exactly going out on a limb to saying that Alabama could win the SEC, but like, we wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
I'm really down on Alabama this year. I think their quarterbacks suck. Like, I think all their quarterbacks suck. I'm very obviously the defense is great, but I think like they've just been kind of getting slightly worse at wide receiver every year since like that crazy year where they had like a billion first round picks.
Yeah.
But like Jalen Milroe is like he can't really throw a ball.
Yeah, I will say my original pick was Georgia over Alabama. And if we want some diversity, on the graphic, we can flip it back. But Alabama's always going to be Alabama as long as Nick Saban's there. They're going to be competitive. But I agree, quarterback play may be a bit of a concern with them this year, which is crazy to say after all the quarterbacks that they have gone through that are now starters in the NFL. There's now, the last like 4 or 5 are all starting in the NFL now.
Are you guys buying Tennessee or Texas A&M at all?
I was hoping we would talk Tennessee a little bit. Talking Tennessee, is that a Morgan Wallen song? It sounds
that is a Morgan Wallen song.
Would be a great podcast name for anybody down in Knoxville too. But I think Joe Milton's going to be really fun to watch. I think it's going to be awesome to flip through channels and see him throw it 100 yards. There's just too many other good teams there. With some of the talent they've lost, they'll have a good year. They're going to be, maybe in that conversation until it gets later in the year and they play. I think they're at Alabama this year, and I think they have to go to Athens too, possibly.
No, they went to Athens last year.
Okay. So, I mean, they still get Georgia coming to town, so that's still tough.
I agree with you. Like, they lost a lot of receiver talent. I do like Brew McCoy. He was really good last year, but they lost was it Hyatt was the guy?
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt.
They lost Hyatt. Obviously, you said Joe Milton can't throw a football. I mean, he can throw a football. He can't throw a football.
Okay, maybe not a football, but did you see him throw that orange?
They should allow Joe Milton one play a game where he gets to throw an orange.
Yeah, it's like a Mario Kart power up.
Exactly. That would be fun. No, I don't think they beat Georgia, and you have to be able to beat Georgia in the division. No one's going to beat Georgia until the championship game. I think that's pretty much fair to say. The only thing I think I'm curious about how Georgia changes from last year is losing Darnell Washington, because they ran a lot of 2 tight end sets where he could just be a 6th lineman and a wide receiver. So losing a guy like that and your OC, I'm curious to see what the offense looks like after he moves. Obviously, Brock Bowers is the better receiver, but I don't know. I think Darnell Washington was such an important piece of that offense. So I don't know.
New look offense without Stetson Bennett too.
No Stetson Bennett. Did you see? I don't know if I showed you guys this. Did you see the Carson Beck Snapchat? Their new quarterback that's emerged.
Oh no!
That
can't be good.
Gosh. Dude, this is a really good one. I'm going to send this to you guys right now. All right, check your Twitter.
Oh boy.
That gets my shit on hard immediately.
My guy, you gotta be smart.
Let's just say he could have learned from Zion a little bit here. Zion Williamson. Remember when that Snapchat came out?
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
Zion's had a bunch of stuff come out. Yeah, he's
it
Yeah, I
ain't
was
just the snaps.
I was just saying that the Snapchat was the tip of the iceberg for Zion Williamson, I guess.
yeah.
All right. Real quick, let's run through the group of 5. Just give me your winners for these conferences. American, I've got UTSA.
I've got where are we at here? Green Wave, baby. Give me Tulane.
Tulane repeat.
I've also got UTSA.
Yeah, I mean, I think UTSA has been, even though Tulane was a little bit better last year, they did beat USC. I think UTSA has been the most consistent group of 5 team over the past 3 or 4 years. That's why I'm rolling with them in a pretty bad conference. Don't hate the Tulane pick. I do worry about them losing Tyjae Spears to the NFL.
Yeah, but the uniforms. Did you forget about the uniforms, Zach? When they get those baby blues out, they aren't losing.
All right, can I say something? They're
You don't
great.
like them.
They're great uniforms. They're great uniforms. I love the baby blues, but they're the green wave.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some historical reason that they have that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
But
Nebraska
I'm not going to be the one that uncovers it. So if there's a Tulane fan out there, tweet us why.
You know what? We'd love it. All right. CUSA. I actually don't really know who's in this conference. There's like 9 teams, and they're all kind of weirdo teams. But I've got Western Kentucky winning it. Love me some air raid.
The old Hilltoppers. I got Liberty.
Fair.
Yeah, we're also going with the Hilltoppers, Zach.
There we go, baby. I mean, I don't know.
Would just like to shout out. I actually did pick a runner-up for this one, Middle Tennessee State, just because of what they did to Miami last year, and that's still in my brain. So
That's fair. That's fair.
About what you will.
That is the ultimate vibes-based pick, and
Yep.
you know what? I respect it. Okay, moving on to the MAC. This is a complete guess. You never know who's going to win the MAC. So I'm going to go with Eastern Michigan. Fuck it.
Give me the Toledo Rockets, baby.
I've also got Toledo.
I have no reasoning for this. This is simply a vibes-based pick.
I feel like I don't know if it was us giving Toledo love last year or if they got it from just kind of the general consensus, but I feel like they were I couldn't tell you if Toledo, like what their record was last year, but they just feel like a team that should be good this year in my head.
I'll tell you that Toledo won the MAC last year.
Let's run it back, baby.
I do like their quarterback a bit, Daquan Finn. I was tempted to pick Ohio because they were the runner-ups last year, and I think they've got a good thing going, but vibes-based pick, like I said.
Who's anybody know who Toledo's head coach is? I think I remember us doing a bit about that. Where am I?
Jason Candle.
Maybe not. I'm probably misremembering. Continue on.
Okay. Now I'm trying to remember what bit you're talking about, and that's going to drive me mad.
There's a very good shot. It could have been a Kent State bit because I often get them mixed up.
Okay, we'll have to look through the archives.
Mm-hmm.
Sun Belt. I've got Troy winning the Sun Belt. I love that defense. I think Kane Wilmack's a great coach. I've got James Madison in a vibe pick runner-up because the vibes are so good last year that I think they're going to carry over.
I love that. Shit, I'm going to have to change mine here. I'm also going Troy. My runner-up was App State because, App State. But yeah, the you were right. The vibes at JMU, they had a chip on their shoulder last year. It didn't just go away. Like they're actually playing for a bowl now this year.
Mm-hmm.
If we're putting runner-ups on the graphic, give me JMU. You sold me, Zach.
Hey, I got bad news for both of you because I would also love to pick JMU, but they're still ineligible. So,
Are they
Wait, really?
yeah,
2 years?
yep.
I'll stay with App State. Take the over on JMU wins.
I don't have a backup pick ready. I'm flabbergasted. I don't know who to fucking pick.
Just one more reason that we fucking hate the NCAA.
Dude, fuck that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long that lasts, but this year for sure. Zach, fact check me, but
Yeah, give me a second.
Well, in the meantime, what is your pick, Kat?
I said Troy,
Okay.
but
So is that, are we all three on Troy?
all three of us are on Troy. I could get a little weird and pick Marshall.
Nah, let's ride. Let's ride with Troy.
Okay, so JMU, you're right. It's a 2-season ban when you jump from FCS to FBS, but JMU can apply for a waiver to play in postseason football in 2023. I don't see anything saying that they got any sort of postseason eligibility.
Okay. Yeah, I only saw something that said they were ineligible again. But if they were eligible, I would pick the Dukes, low key.
All right.
Let's do it. We'll put a little asterisk on our runners.
Yeah. All right. Let's round it out with the Mountain West. I've got San Jose State winning it, and this is totally a vibes pick, right? And let me tell you about this one, right? Because the vibes in this pick are only because of their starting quarterback, one Chevon Cordiero, who I think has been in college for at least 7 years at this point. But he used to play at Hawaii, and whenever the starter would be bad, they'd bring in Cordiero, and then he'd be good. So they would have this like weird two QB system going. And then when he was bad, they bring back the starter. He's a lot of fun to watch, and that's the only reason for my pick. I like Chevon Cordiero.
Okay, I like it. I'm going Boise State. Enough said.
Yeah, all right, sure.
Bluefield.
Smart
Enough said. Bluefield State.
All right. Okay, let's move on to win totals. So I've got a couple here that I really like that I'm prepared to defend against all the haters. I'm probably going to skip on a couple of these. I'm going to start with Kansas over 6.5. Their schedule is versus Missouri State, an FCS team. They get Illinois at home, Nevada on the road, BYU at home, Texas on the road, UCF at home at Oklahoma State, Oklahoma at home at Iowa State, Texas Tech at home, Kansas State, and Cincinnati. Over there. So at 6.5.
Yeah, I would say, what's that number at?
6.5.
Okay.
So I like them to win the FCS game, Illinois, Nevada, BYU, Iowa State, and Cincinnati pretty comfortably. So I think that's 6 wins I can give them off the rip. So they just have to find one more win against any of the other Big 12 teams, which I think is very doable.
Fair. I'm not gonna try to convince you otherwise.
All right. Okay, thank you. Mason, what do you got?
The only real one that I have is West Virginia under 5.5. I don't think they're going to be very good. They're probably not going to have a coach like halfway through the season.
Yeah.
So unless they I don't know, have one of those where they play for the interim really well, I don't see them touching 6 wins. They're not going bowling.
All right, so let me run through the schedule. So it's week 1 open at Penn State. They get
Yikes.
Duquesne at home. Then they get Pitt at home. They get Texas Tech at home. They go to TCU. They go to Houston. They get Oklahoma State at home. They go to UCF. They get BYU at home. They go to Oklahoma. They get Cincinnati at home, and then they go to Baylor. Numbers what, 5.5?
5.5 is where I saw it.
I'll give them 2 wins against Duquesne and BYU. Then they got to find 4 more. I don't think that's happening.
They're not going to find 4 more. They're going to find 1 or 2. Yeah, probably. But 6 is a lot for that not great team.
I think I would take that under at 4.5 as well. Like I don't think they find anything more than 4.
Ooh,
Like
of the alternate line, little alternate line here.
I don't know if I can find that. I'll have to see. But I think they're gonna lose Penn State, Pitt, Texas Tech, maybe TCU, UCF, Oklahoma, Baylor, probably pretty comfortably. That leaves maybe 3 more winnable games. So I don't really see that at all.
As long as we take care of business, kind of strip them of all hope, they're not getting there.
I mean, I think just even if Penn State whoops them real bad week 1, like that might just spiral out of control from there.
Yeah. Also, this is a great time to do a reminder that I'm pretty sure close to the end of last season, they came out with way too early game lines. The Backyard Brawl was one of them, and I believe Pitt was +1. They're now like -5.5, I think. So if you took that, great value.
There you go.
Very nice.
Kent, you got any lines you like?
Yeah, I got a couple. I'll start with Wisconsin. Obviously, I picked them to win the Big Ten West. It's 8.5. I like the over. If you just take a look at their schedule, I think I easily find 9 wins in here.
You want me to pull it up?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Wisconsin starts out welcoming Buffalo into town. They go to Washington State. Then they host Georgia Southern. They go to Purdue. They get Rutgers at home. They get Iowa at home. They go to Illinois. And they get Ohio State at home. And then they have Indiana, Northwestern, Nebraska, and Minnesota. I don't see anything more than 2 losses on this schedule.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's why I'm hammering the over 8.5 here. This one of the 2 that I really listed for this show, this is the one I feel way more strongly about. I agree. I think you could easily Ohio State clear loss there. But yeah, I think the rest of these you have an argument for Wisconsin in pretty much every other game. So
yeah, no, for sure. All right. So of the ones I listed, I think I like 2 of them the most. So I'll give one of them now. I'm going to stick in the Big Ten West. I love Iowa over 8.5. The schedule is Utah State, Iowa State, Western Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Northwestern, Rutgers, Illinois, Nebraska. I'll give them 1 sure loss and maybe 2 toss-ups. I don't think I see Iowa winning less than 9 games. And I get it, their offense stinks, but like Cade McNamara is not a good quarterback. He's also the best quarterback Iowa's had in probably a decade. So, I think over 8.5 is pretty easy for Iowa.
It's not going to be pretty, but they're going to do what Iowa does.
Yeah, they're just going to beat Iowa, and they're going to get 9 wins, maybe even 10 with this schedule, and call it a day.
They're going to wave to the kids at halftime and win football games.
yeah, that game. You said it's in Wisconsin this year. Yeah, Wisconsin, Iowa. That might be a
The
big matchup.
battle for the East. Yeah,
That's the West.
The West.
West. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Pivoting to another conference here again. Talk me out of taking the over on Vanderbilt 3.5.
Let me pull up that schedule. What are you seeing here?
Their stadium isn't even completed, and they have a game at home this week. So
We're going to get to week 0 in a little bit. Hold up.
I see wins at Hawaii, Alabama, A&M, UNLV, and then they could beat a Mizzou or I don't know. They could catch one of these other teams sleeping.
I kind of like that, actually. I kind of like
Mizzou, Florida. I like Florida. Isn't
Florida.
jumping off the page at me. They could absolutely beat Florida, and they're at Florida, so it would be tough in the swamp. But that's like, I don't know. There's a lot of games in there that they have 3 sure wins. If they can go find one more, play for a little pride, they're hitting their over. I don't know. I just love kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. Vanderbilt being in the SEC is that just sucks for them.
You know what? I don't hate it. I'll say it. I don't hate it. Kent, what pick you got?
Yeah, I can go over my second pick. I've got the South Carolina Gamecocks over 6. I think they have 5 for sure wins on this schedule, and they'll find a 6th somewhere. Week 1, they actually play UNC at home. So you get a Drake May versus Spencer Rattler week 1.
That's a neutral site. That's in Charlotte.
Okay. All right. I think I did know that actually. So that changes things a little bit. I think the line right now is like 2.5 in favor of the Tar Heels, but I don't hate that for the Gamecocks either. Neutral site changes a little bit. I would prefer, obviously, for the Gamecocks' sake, if it was in Columbia, but I think they find a 6th win. It could be one of those situations where we get a push, but I like it.
Okay.
Buying the stock on Spencer Rattler, huh?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, if he really plays to his potential, and I don't know, I could see things getting a little bit weird in Columbia this year.
When I was looking at Heisman odds at some point in the offseason, he was one that was on the list. Not on this list I pulled up earlier because I think he's cooled off a little bit, but went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I don't feel nearly as strong about this over as I did with Wisconsin, but they have a few. They play at Georgia. They play against Clemson at home, and they play at Tennessee. So 3 at least very, very tough games, and they also play at A&M.
Okay, so they got those 4 games I would pencil as losses. I'm going to hand them a loss to Kentucky at home. So that means to hit that, they have to beat UNC, Furman, Mississippi State, Florida, Missouri, Jacksonville State, and Vanderbilt, which is doable, but I don't love it.
Like I said, I'm going out on a limb here a little bit. Disclaimer, I don't feel nearly as strong about this, but I have a gut feeling about it, and I'm going to stick with it. So I'm going to go over 6.
Okay. I'll close this out here with my last pick. It is LSU over 9.5. We were talking earlier about how we all are going to be big LSU fans this year, just so Georgia doesn't win the conference again. But their schedule is Florida State to open the season. Then they get Grambling, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Auburn, Army, Alabama, Florida, Georgia State, and Texas A&M. I think they are going to win 10 games minimum, and more than likely 11. Because I think they're better than Alabama, and I think that Florida State game is a coin flip. So I love them at over 9.5.
So we're rooting for Alabama this year. What's going to be our take going into that? Sorry, LSU. Sorry, was thinking one thing, said something different. Who are we going to be rooting for then? In that, are we going with the ACC homer pick and rooting for Florida State, or is that still going to be a Tigers for us?
We're going to root for the ACC for Florida State.
Agreed.
Because if LSU loses, it does not affect how they play in conference. I think they're still better than their entire conference slate. But we want Florida State to be as good as possible for when we beat them in November.
I love it.
All right.
One other little bonus pick. I don't have a lot to say about this one. Colorado under 3.5. They play a brutal schedule. And we saw the clip this week of Dion being mad that his players weren't fighting. I don't know, just some wonky stuff coming out of Boulder.
You know what the one thing I took away from that clip was? That team is so small.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of tiny guys. They're going to get killed. I have nothing to add to that pick except that you're completely 100% right. They have an awful, brutal schedule. They're going to that's going to
in order to find 3 wins, they'll beat Colorado State. They'll probably beat Washington State.
I don't know about that.
But that's like a maybe. Go find the other win.
Okay, so Colorado State, maybe you can talk yourself into one of Nebraska or TCU because TCU is reloading. I think they're going to lose to TCU for sure. Maybe Nebraska because they're restarting. Maybe 1 out of 2, and then they've got to they'll beat Stanford. That's win number 2. It's 3.5, right?
3.5. Yeah.
Okay, so Stanford, Colorado State. Maybe one of those 2 early season games, and then you have to get either Arizona or Washington State, or maybe Arizona State, one of those 3. It's very hard to find 4 here.
Yeah.
Because, teams are trying to run the ball on them. They don't have any linemen. They suck.
It's going to be Colorado fans are going to be put to the test this year. I know they're coming out of very dark times, and I think they will have a really bright future with Dion there. He proved he can recruit. Whether or not he can actually scheme, we'll kind of find out. But I think they'll get enough guys there that eventually they will be good. But they're, like I said, they're going to be tested this year still.
Yep. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, give us a follow on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, at Semple Fi Pod. You can find all of our Twitters in the bio there. If you like the episode, tell a friend, share it with a friend, share it with a Pitt fan. And we'll see you next time for our Week 0 preview.
Hail to Pitt.
Let's go.